What'd you buy us?
It's all in my dirt. Big tractor in my house. Thank you.
Okay, well, Susie's not coming, so I think this is probably it for today. Let's get started. So sit comfortably and let yourself lengthen up through the top of your head. Let your eyes gently close. And if you need to wiggle around a little bit, wiggle around. Like if you need to shift around or let your head release a little bit by letting your neck, let your head go so your neck can release too. And then just be with your breath, accepting your breaths in and out through your nose. By the way, the birds are growing bigger and along. They are getting louder and they need to be fed more frequently. So you will hear the birds very loudly until their parents, make them happy again. But it comes frequently, so just listen to the lovely little birdies and enjoy. They're very sweet. So just let yourself accept your breaths, fully and deeply in and out. Whether you prefer to come into your Ujjayi breaths or feeling the breath come into those three parts, whatever feels very comfortable and easy. Circle with your breath, with your torso. So letting yourself move easily now into those circles. They may want to get bigger and bigger, or you may want to stay small with your circle. Letting your exhales bring you forward. Stop in reverse direction, so let yourself take your time, come off to the other side. And the next time that you end up coming forward, stay there, let yourself just stay a little bit forward. And then bring your left hand right above your knee, like onto the right to the inside above your knee. And start to let yourself lean away and back a little bit. So instead of being forward, kind of come maybe a little off to the side. And use your hand there to encourage the knee farther away from you. So you come a little more right into your sideways here. Just a little bit of pressure. And then we'll come on back through center. We're going to shift all the way to the other side and do the same thing. So using that right hand just to encourage the knee a little bit more away from you. And take your time. Feel good. And then we'll come on back into center. And if you want to go a little farther forward, a little deeper into your forward bend, that's up to you. And more than welcome, that, to fold forward, to let your head hang if possible. If you need to keep the long back and stay up higher, do. You're welcome too to let yourself kind of go a little side to side with your upper body if that feels really good, to come into one side and then the other of your low back there into the upper hip. And come back into center if you're moving around for one more nice full deep breath. And then we'll rise all the way on back up to sitting, letting our hands come on out beside us. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And clasp your hands here now. Send your palms right out from your chest. Let yourself press into the heels of your hands. And then bring the hands back in by your chest. And go a little higher now as you press out into the heels of your hands. And then bring your hands back into your chest again. And see if you can maybe even go a little bit higher. And then one more time, bringing the hands back in towards the chest. And then maybe going as high as you can, or going forward and then maybe going all the way up overhead, depending on your shoulders, and you know that. And leaning over to the left just a little bit, find a little more, to the right, find a little more for your left side there. And then come on back up to the top and go to the other side. And do that a couple of times at your own timing. So you may decide, I just want to go a little bit and not stay long, or you may want to stay on one side and press into the heel of the hand, stay a little bit longer. It kind of depends on what feels good. And then when you're finished, let yourself come on back up to the top with your hands, and we'll release the arms on down beside us. Clasp your hands behind you here now, and then come a little bit forward. Keep your back nice and long. Imagine you're coming forward from your chest. Flex the feet, press into the outside edges of your feet. Let yourself just enjoy being here. Good. And we're going to come up. Remember which leg you have crossed in front. And bring your legs on out into a bit of an angle. Doesn't have to be far. Just enough to open the backs of the legs as you come forward a little bit. You can slide your hands to your shins, your ankles, or your toes if you want to. Just opening up through the back of the legs. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll rise back up, and we are going to switch our legs, cross the legs, so bring your other leg in front there. And then let's go ahead and circle again, letting yourself, a little more warmed up. Maybe you like to start bigger now. Maybe you like those circles to get to be bigger. Or maybe you prefer to stay small and not get any bigger. Totally up to you. Just let it feel good and easy. Like you're just flowing through with the breath. We'll stop and we'll come in the other direction. So let yourself reverse directions. Good. And next time you come forward, again, stay forward. Go ahead and come as far into your forward bend as you want again, into your seated forward bend. Maybe even letting your hands come out farther in front of you if you can. Even if you want to keep a long back, instead of keeping the hands kind of under you, maybe let them go out farther. That doesn't mean you have to go lower down with your body, but you can if you want to, right? So be mindful, let it feel good. Let yourself release in the low back. Good, and then we're going to rise on back up. Let's let our hands come on out beside us. Float your arms straight out from your shoulders. Let's bring our right arm on top of our left. Give yourself a nice hug. And let your elbows just go a little side to side. Take it just, not much, just these tiny little twisting motions. Just not even like a twist almost. Just letting the elbows barely go side to side. And then come on back into center. You can head towards your half eagle or eagle wrap if you choose to, letting yourself release between the shoulder blades on your back. Elbows can melt up a little higher if that feels good for you. Just really enjoy. One more breath. And then we'll undo our arms, bring them on straight out from your shoulders again. And then we'll bring the other arm on top, left arm on top, giving a hug here. And again, let your elbows melt down and then let them go a little side to side. So you just feel maybe a little more release right up there between the shoulder blades and the back. And then when you're ready, come on back into center. Again, it's immaterial whether you stay hugging or head into a half eagle or eagle wrap. Letting the shoulders melt down. If you like, lifting your elbows up a little bit too. Nice. And then we'll release. knees and bring our arms on down. Bring your hands behind you. Stay either on your fingertips or go flat to your hands. That depends on you. Really drawing that chest forward, drawing your shoulders back. Doesn't matter where you look, you can stay looking forward. If it feels good to look up a little bit, do. Just be mindful of how your neck feels. Nice, and then we're gonna rise on back up. Kind of shake your hands out a little bit. We're gonna make our way around and towards our hands and knees. So you know, be mindful as you do, take your time, let yourself come onto hands and knees, spread your fingers nice and wide, and just kind of play a little bit. Go up into like a little mini cat pose. So not really too much. I mean, you're engaging your belly, but you're not all the way up. And then let your hips shift a little side to side. Your head just goes wherever it wants. Keep that little mini navel drawing towards the spine, kind of round it up a little bit. And then move on back into a more neutral spine, looking down there between your hands. And send your right foot back behind you on the floor. Curl your toes under, press back into your heel. Let yourself enjoy. And then we'll switch legs just to open up more into the back of the left leg, sending those toes curled under, letting yourself press into the inner heel. And then we're going to switch again. Right foot's going to come back on the floor behind us. Now, if you want to lift that left knee up, do press into the top of the toes. And then see if you can lift the left foot up too. Let yourself just come up a little more. And then go ahead and put the knee and the foot down, and we're going to switch legs. So left foot behind you, curl the toes under. You're still pointed in your right foot when you lift the knee up, so you can press down into the top of the toes. And then maybe you can lift that foot up, flex that foot, come a little more into the arms and the shoulders. And then we'll put everything back down. We're going to come back to both knees and shift back towards pose of a child. So let yourself shift back, keep your arms overhead, and come up onto your fingertips if you can. And let your elbows just softly hug in a little bit and down towards the ground. Let yourself breathe into your low back. Good. And now we're going to come on back up to all fours and adjust how you need to come through your cat-cows. So if you need to go to fists to get out of your hands a little bit, do, or go to your forearms if you need to. And let yourself just start to find that easy flowing through the spine motion. Tailbone leads, moving your way through your spine. Good. And finish off the one you're on or that you're moving into there now. Well, let's meet back in that neutral spine. Let's curl our toes under. Lift your knees both up off the floor. Stay there just for a second. And then go ahead and move back into your down dog. Really reaching back through the tailbone. It feels like a relief. Walk your dog a little bit if you want to walk. Walk and move around a little bit with your feet. If you need to pick a foot up at a time and circle your foot around. You know, just play a little bit. Let it feel really good. Let your body feel like it's adjusting its way into your down dog, however you need to do that, right? Turn your head side to side. Let yourself just enjoy that down dog, man. It's our whole body, isn't it? So when you really start to reach back through the sitting bones, finding your full dog, feel your elbows hug towards each other, and it is like the whole body is awake. And then we're going to lower our knees on down. We're going to step our left foot forward and come into lunge. So take your time, make your way into that first lunge. Press the feet gently away from each other. See if you can bring your left forearm or hand up to your thigh there. And just enjoy. Keep your right hand down. Don't try too much. Just let it feel really good, opening up here. Bend the right knee, the back right knee, just a little bit if you can, down towards the ground so it feels a little deeper into the lower calf there. And then come back into that straighter back leg. We're going to switch legs out. So coming into, again, once you get into it, if you can bring your forearm or your hand up to your thigh, it depends on how high your hands are, obviously. But let yourself bring that right hand or forearm up, giving yourself a little support there. Really focus on that back leg being long for a second. And then when you get ready to bend it, feel what happens where it comes into different feeling there in the calf. And then go ahead and come into that straighter leg back there, pressing into the inner heel. And we will step forward from here and come on into our standing forward bend, feet hips distance apart and parallel. Walk a little bit in your Uttanasana, whether you like to bend your knee and lift your heel up, or maybe you like to keep your feet flat on the floor and walk a little bit. Just let it feel good. And then come on back into your Uttanasana, feeling very equal here now between your feet. Your knees can be soft. Let your sitting bones be over your heels, and use whatever support you need to be comfortable in the pose. Accepting those full deep breaths. Letting the breath be really the most important thing. Just watching your breath in and out. Nice. We will let ourselves bring our hands to our hips up. From here, pressing to our feet, we'll rise on it to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. So adjusting as you lean into your mountain pose, feeling your feet in the floor. When you're ready to bring your gaze forward, just let your hands separate to only the tips of the fingers and thumbs touching. So now you've separated the fingers except for the tips of them and the thumbs, and you're just letting yourself kind of make that little tent there with your hands. Feel soft though through the tops of the shoulders. Let yourself feel nice and wide and open across your chest. And then softly allow the hands to meet all the way again. So you bring your palms together, fingers and thumbs, feeling that connection there. And just enjoy getting aligned here in your mountain pose, feeling the tailbone dropping down. Just make sure you're not tucking your tailbone up under you a little bit. Try to reach it down and back between your heels almost. Feel that engagement of the low belly. And then we'll release to bring our arms on down beside us. And inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend your knees as you come on forward into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back, whether you put your hands on your shins, the blocks, the floor, it doesn't matter, but really reach back through the tailbone, forward and out through the top of your head. And we will step the right foot back here and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So take your time again as you come into this dog again to walk if you need, move if you need. Elbows are softly hugging in. Think of the back of your head being in line with your spine. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to a plank. So nice strong plank. See if you can bend your right knee so that it comes down towards the ground, but it doesn't touch it. Stay on the tips of your right toes, actually. And then roll back into that long leg. So let the left knee come down, stay on the tips of your toes, feel your belly really engaging, and then come back to your full plank again. And now we're gonna lower down, so you know you're welcome to put your knees down first, elbows right by the ribs, coming down to the mat. And let's come on into Sphinx pose, onto our forearms. Let your palms turn up for a second with the backs of the hands resting on the floor, and let your hands be relaxed, which means the fingers usually curl a little bit. Depends on you how much, but just be easy in your hands and feel that openness through the front of the chest. Just by coming into this nice Sphinx pose, you can feel that openness in the front of your body. Nice. And then from here, let's lower back down, slide your hands back by your chest. We're going to come on back into down dog, whether you come through that half or a full push-up, or maybe just back to your hands and knees and back into down dog.
And now walk your dog a little bit, take your time with it, let yourself, stay with that one leg bent, one leg long for a breath before you change. So you're going for quite a slow walk. Good. And then finish off, coming back to your full down dog. This time we'll bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. So however you want to get there, it's up to you. Put your knee down if you need. And then we'll step back into our standing forward bend. Feet right underneath us. Full deep breaths. Whatever feels comfortable for you, you know that. If you like holding your elbows, and it's not too much in your back. Instead, if you need to use support, do. And then see if you can let those breaths feel really easily long and deep and fairly even as you focus on your breaths and you receive the breaths in and out. As we rise up this time, let your arms be like wings as you press into your feet, coming on up, arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands a little bit up over the head and bring the hands clasped to the back of your head. Press the back of your head into your hands a little bit. Feel your chin staying parallel to the floor. Then bend your knees a little bit. Press down into your feet. Let yourself feel very energized in your legs. Make sure your pelvis is still aligned, your tailbone's dropping down. But as you press your head into your hands and you feel that sense of the feet pressing down, maybe, just maybe, you can feel a little relief there in your neck, in your upper back. One more breath. And then slowly let your arms unfold right on down beside you. And we're going to inhale the arms forward and up. Let them come forward and all the way up. You can look up if you choose. And on the exhale, we're going to bend our knees and come on into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. And this time, left foot comes back to come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So let yourself walk a little bit again. Slow motion walk. Just to allow the body to adjust and get really a little longer into the backs of those legs. Into your calves, behind your knees. Good, and then we'll come on back to the full dog. And next inhale, we'll make our way on out to plank. Nice and strong. And then from here, we're going to lower down again. Elbows right by the ribs, however you want to go. Full or more of a push-up. And then we're going to come up a little bit. Float our hands up for a second. Let yourself just feel the body really lifting you up into this back bend. And then bring your hands down, chest level, and if you want to keep up, going up into your cobra, you can. Not necessary, you can stay low, you know that. So wherever you're able to be. And then we're going to release slowly back down. And then we're going to come back to down dog. So again, sort of a half or a full push-up. Working your way back. Bring your feet a little closer together. Lift your right leg up in the air. Come into a three-legged dog here. And just for fun, we're going to come out like we're doing plank, bring that knee in towards the chest, and then as we inhale, we're going to go back to that three-legged dog, and we'll do that again, bringing the knee in towards the chest, and then coming back into that three-legged dog, and then one more time, letting yourself come on towards that plank, and coming on back with the leg. And we're going to lower that foot down and do the other side. So let yourself find your three-legged dog, left leg up. And as you exhale, come on in to the knee coming down. And when you inhale, reach back into that long leg. So exhale, coming forward towards that plank. And inhale, coming back. And one more time, letting yourself come forward. And then coming back to three legs. Good. And bring your feet on down, coming on into dog. Good. We're going to bring our left foot forward and come into lunge. And then we're going to step back into standing forward bend. Full deep breaths. If you like to hold your elbows, go for it. If you need to use support, you know to use it. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips, press into our feet, come on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let your exhale bring your hands down to be in front of your heart. Stay here for a couple breaths. Getting ready to move with our breath. So let your breath calm down a little. Let yourself feel really easy in your mountain pose. Let it feel strong at the same time quiet. Feeling like the air around you is supporting you, so it's very easy to be in mountain pose. Feeling your head floating up in the clouds here. And then we'll unfold our arms down beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, we're going to come forward, moving with our breath. Inhale into that long back, and exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale, exhale into your down dog. Inhaling out to plank, let your exhale lower you down. And on your inhale, coming into cobra of choice. And on your exhale, back into down dog. Inhale, exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale, exhale into your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way to the top with your breath. And letting your exhale bring you forward. Inhale into that long back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Inhaling out to your plank. Exhaling as you lower. And inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way to the top of your breath. Letting your exhale bring you forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come into down dog. Place your hands, get there however you want. And take your time when you get there. Move however you need. Let it feel good. From here, we will bring our left foot forward. And we're coming up for warrior one. And you might want your blocks handy. So, rising on up, adjusting that back foot, right? The angle of the back foot, the width of your stance, the length of your stance. Just let it feel good. Let your hands just eventually come to be in front of your chest. And bring your gaze on forward. Let yourself feel good. Feel square with your shoulders towards the front of your mat. Feel your arches lifting up. Good. And then we'll rise the hands up just above the head. Bring the hands clasped at the back of your head again like we did earlier. Press the back of your head into your hands without lifting your chin up right now. So feel just what happens when you push your head into your hands. How you feel more engaged in the core of your body. And then you can decide, does it feel good to let your chin rise up a little bit? You're still supporting your head. You're actually still pressing the back of your head into your hands. So there's quite a bit of action going on. The belly just automatically wants to engage and lift. Right sitting bone still reaching down towards the right heel. Good. One more breath from there. And then if you're going to release your head, remember not just to let it fall back. Release and bring your arms up, maybe into a wide V. Maybe you want your arms directly over your shoulders. That's up to you. You can do your hand clasp if you'd rather too. And then just enjoy feeling that sense of inhaling up the front of your body and exhaling down the back in your warrior one. Feeling the feet equal in the floor. One more breath. And then bring your gaze forward. Let your hands come right back to be right down in front of your chest into your prayer hands. And then lean a little forward so you have a long line down the back of your body, which puts a little more into that left quad, right? You can really feel that, but otherwise you're not breaking at the waist. You're keeping a nice long body. Good. Now from here, we're going to bring our hands on down towards blocks or the floor, and we're going to find a lunge. So you're going to release that heel now directly behind your foot. Maybe you want to go a little longer or shorter. And we're going to add your twist of choice. And some of you might want to bring your right elbow over to your left knee. Like if you want to practice this one and just bring your right elbow to your left knee and then keep your hand on the block, or maybe bring your hands up into prayer hands. You know, you don't have to add that final looking to the left. You can stay looking down. If you don't like doing those at all, keep your right hand down. Bring your left hand on up into your low back, or maybe all the way up for a twist. So you find your twist of choice. You know, you want to play with the elbow across a little bit, but then change to this twist do. And then we're going to release and come on back down with our hands. We're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Walk to the tops of the toes a couple of times and really take your time to press into the top of your toes, right? So those feet get a nice stretch. Good, and then let's come on out to plank. You can decide for a side plank whether you want to put your left knee down as you shift onto your left hand. Come on up into a side plank just to let yourself be strong there. And then come on back down with your hand and shift to the other side. So again, you can put your right knee down to give you a little support, or you can do your full one. And then we'll come on back again into plank. Walk your plank just a little bit. Let your hips stay up a little high. And then, come on, we're going to go all the way down to the mat. Knees first if you'd like. Elbows right by the ribs. And now come on into an up dog if you're able to. So you can either curl your toes under so that when you come up and lift your knees up, you're there. Or you can keep the tops of the toes on the floor. And you can change. Like when you're up in the dog, up dog, you can put your knees down and switch how your feet are if you want. To where you're okay to be. And then we'll come on back down, all the way down to the mat. We're going to shift back towards pose of a child. And we're going to walk our hands over towards the right. Don't go too far. Just let it be easy. Breathe into the left side. Let yourself release. And then walk back through center. And go over to the left. And again, breathe into your right side. Good. And then we'll come on back into center. We're going to come on up to all fours. And come back into downward facing dog pose. Good. And walk your dog a little bit. Nice. And from here, we're going to come into stepping our right foot forward and coming into warrior one, right? So take your time, get yourself on up. If you need to widen your stance, do, or lengthen or shorten your stance, do. Get your shoulders around. Bring your hands to your heart. And this time, once you kind of get settled in, right, let your gaze come forward and let your hands circle. So you're gently keeping your hands together so that when the backs of the hands come together, you have this nice ease of, you're not pressing hard, you're staying connected, which helps the wrist release. And we're going to go the other direction, so whenever you're ready to stop, just stop and reverse. Let those circles help your wrists find a nice release there. Good. And then finish off with your hands back into prayer hands right in front of your chest. Rise your hands a little higher than your head. Bring the hands right to the back of the head again. Press the back of your head into your hands. At first, don't lift your chin at all. But feel what happens. It's like an automatic pilot, right? That your core engages more. My legs even want to engage more when I do that. And then you can decide if you can let your hands go back, lift your chin up a little bit. That's up to you. Remember, there's no sense of compression in your low back. There's a lift to the belly. There's more length on that top left buttock reaching down towards your heel. Now, remember, if you're going to let go of your head, you don't want to fall backwards. So be really mindful as you stretch your arms on up. And again, you know, you can keep them closer in above the shoulders. You can clasp your hands if you like. Or you can go wider if you want, with your arms into more of a wide open V. So just enjoy. Find that sense of the biggest opening you can there in the front of your left hip. Arches are lifting up on both feet. One more breath. As you bring your gaze forward again, we're going to bring the hands back down to be in front of our hearts. And as you lean forward into that long diagonal line, there you are a little deeper now into your quad, really strong here, really lengthened. And now as we lower our hands down for our lunge, you can decide, do you want to use the blocks, letting yourself adjust the length of your stance as you reach the heel behind. Now again, if you want to practice bringing your left elbow across to your right knee, you might want to keep your right hand on the block. You don't have to do a twist at all with your hands into prayer, but you can try and practice if you want. Or you can keep your left hand down on the block of the floor and bring your right hand on up. You might even want to stretch your arm up. So you pick your twist that feels good.
Just enjoy. Nice. One more breath. And then we're gonna come on back down with the hand, and we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose from here. Good, and walk to the tops of the feet again a couple of times after all those, see if that helps. And then when you come on back into center, see if you can do either a vinyasa or a kriya 2 or 3 times. Coming out to plank, moving through to a back bend, whether you wanna come straight from plank to your up dog, or maybe you wanna go through chaturanga, and if you don't wanna do these, put your knees down and rest. So totally up to you. Letting yourself move how you need, or let yourself rest if you need. Good, we're gonna meet back in down dog once you finish off the one you're on. And this time we'll bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior 2, and we do need our blocks handy on these too. So have your blocks handy, line up your heels. Actually, see about, once you kind of get, okay, this feels like a good stance for my warrior 2, see if you can bend both your knees for a second, right? Just a little bit in that back knee, so you feel like, I feel very balanced now. And then see if you can come into that straighter back knee, which might bend that left knee a little deeper. Good. And then start to bring your arms up into a wide open V. Turn your palms to face each other. Reach up through your fingertips. And then turn your palms away from each other as you lower the arms down. Just very slowly start to bring that gaze right out over the top of that left hand. Reaching equally back through the right fingertips and forward through the left. Feel your tops of your shoulders soften, and imagine your arms are being held up from underneath. Beautiful. We're going to turn the left palm up and inhale, reach up towards the sky. Nice full breath. And on the exhale, we're going to come into side angle. So your left hand or forearm onto your thigh. Swinging that right arm up into the line if you can. Pressing into that forearm, finding that outer left hip drawing back. Just enjoy finding that side angle and feeling that sense of length of the spine. Good. One more breath. We're going to come on back to warrior 2, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And now we're going to straighten the left leg out. So really feel both legs straight, pressing your feet away from each other, and then coming on down with your left hand for triangle. So you can use your leg, you can use a block, totally up to you, what you like to use in your triangle, where you want to put your hand. Feel your thighs lifting up towards the hips. Let yourself feel that engagement all around your knees, right? Nice. One more breath here, really keeping engaged there as you press the feet away from each other. And then turn to look at the floor. We're going to bring the right hand down. You can release to a brief lunge. And we're going to walk around into a wide-legged forward bend. So from there, you're more than welcome to walk your blocks around. You know that. And then take your time, bend your knee at a time, both knees if you need to, whatever helps you adjust into the pose. Just be mindful, let it feel good. And then come on back to where you're centered between your legs. Bend your knees a little tiny bit. You're lengthened out and forward with your hands so your back is long. Press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. See if you can then shift up to the balls of your feet. Let your heels rise a tiny bit off the floor. Feel your inner thighs melting more behind you. And then go ahead and put your heels back down. You can have straighter legs or you can bend your knees. That's up to you. And then see if you can, what happens if you think about your heart melting down a little towards the ground. So you go a little farther and you're still long backed, right? Your hands might need to go out farther. I even like to get a block and put a block underneath my head with my arms out like that, really out in front of me, and let my heart melt down from there. But that's up to you. Take your time, take a couple of breaths there if you can. And then when you're ready, adjust to where you want to stay in this pose. So, perhaps you like to go into the traditional pose, hands between your feet, or maybe you like to bring your hands onto your ankles or to walk your hands back behind you. Just let it be the best possible place so that you really have
this ability to let go entirely in your upper body and to focus on your breath without being distracted by a discomfort, right? So full, deep, even breaths. You know, if you can find those little spaces between your breaths and imagine that you are just releasing a little more in each of those little pauses between your breaths. Nice. One more nice full breath. And from here, we are going to walk ourselves on back over towards that left foot. So take your time, make your way back into your lunge here, and we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose from there. And you're on your own. Do what feels good, you know? Do you feel like you'd be better off to just put your knees down and rest? Would you be better off to open your hips a little bit? Maybe you like to do another side plank. Maybe you'd like to come into more vinyasas or kriyas. So kind of let your body take over. Do what feels good so that you feel, you know, not like you're depleting your energy, but you're just getting more and more energy from doing your yoga instead of feeling tired, right? Good. So if you're doing something two-sided, you might want to even your sides out. And meet back in down dog, because this time we'll bring our right foot forward. We're coming into warrior two on that other side. So again, as you line up your heels, bring yourself into alignment with that front knee. You get into that length of the pose where you feel really good. See about trying to bend that back knee a little bit, feeling more equal between your feet there. It's just a little bit, right? It's just a little bit. If it bothers your knee, don't do it. And then you can come into that straighter leg and press maybe the feet a little away from each other, rising the arms up into that wide open V. Let your pinkies turn towards each other. And then we'll turn the palms away from each other and start to lower the arms down slowly so that you end up looking right out over the top of that hand. And feel your feet very equal in the floor. Enjoy finding that strength here and that very deep focus in your warrior two. That's why it feels so powerful, really. And we're going to turn the right palm up and inhale, reach up into that reverse warrior. You can go as far behind yourself or straight up if you choose. And on your exhale, coming into your side angle where you bring your hand or your forearm onto your thigh. And adding the left arm up into line if your shoulders allow you. Pressing into that forearm, drawing your outer right hip back, finding that length now. Feeling length all the way out through those left fingertips and all the way back down the left side of the body into the outer left heel. But then you feel equally long on the right side as far as length in your spine, right? You're not folded down. One more breath. We're going to come on back into warrior two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And now straighten your right leg out. Now you're really feeling your legs. Press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. And come on down with that right hand now for your triangle. So again, you know, you may decide to use a block. You may decide to use the floor. You may decide to use your leg. The eyes are engaging up still. Let yourself feel length all the way out through the top of your head. I know some of you like to think of turning to look up towards your hand up there. You're more than welcome to do that if it doesn't bother your neck. If you push that left hand a little forward, sometimes that helps it not bother your neck too. Good, one more breath. And now turn to look at your right foot there on the floor. We're going to bend the right knee and come back briefly to that lunge. We are going to walk around to a wide-legged forward bend, so you might want your blocks. Make your way on around, get your feet pretty settled in, and then keep walking over towards your left foot. So once you kind of get okay, get yourself over towards the left. Doesn't matter whether you stay in front of the foot or bring your hands to the outside of your ankle, but just let yourself stay there for a breath at first. And then bring your left hand up to your left hip. If you want to look up towards the ceiling, you can. You can add that or not. And then bring yourself back, left hand on down. We're going to walk back through center, and we're going to go over to the right. Again, it does not matter how far you go. Stay there once you get there for a breath, just to give your body, the legs and the hips, time to adjust. And then your right hand can come on up. You can decide if you like to turn and look up or not. The shoulder kind of rolls up too if you want. And then we'll bring the hand back down. We're going to come on back into center. Bend a knee at a time if you need to. Turn your toes out a little bit and bend both your knees like you're doing goddess. And then go ahead and let yourself straighten one leg at a time as your toes are turned out, right? Which will give you a different stretch. You can do the all the way down to the mat with your hips if you want. If you want to go really low, go for it. If you feel like staying up higher, stay up higher. Remember, you can always shift and just lift it onto the heel of one foot instead of going all the way down towards the ground. And then once you feel like you're kind of centered, you're evened out, go ahead and come back to turning your toes more forward so you're more parallel. And take your time. You know, if you need to grab some blocks to help you be more comfortable in this pose, grab your blocks if you like, go for your forearms or for your head. Sometimes I just like to hold a block between my hands and let myself release, but you know, just be mindful, take your time. Feel your feet in the floor, let yourself just enjoy feeling that sense of fully and deeply releasing the upper body. And if Ujjayi breathing, you know, feeling the breath coming through your throat really helps you to get deeper into your pose. You can, if you're Ujjayi breathing, you can watch those little spaces between your breaths if that helps. Good. One more nice full breath here. And when you are ready to walk back to that right foot, go ahead and let yourself come on back around into your lunge. And when you're ready, back into your downward facing dog pose. So again, if you feel like doing vinyasas or kriyas, this is the last set of them there. So if you feel like, man, I'd like to come out, you don't have to. You can actually go from dog to plank and back to dog. You can go out and come into back bends. You can stay in dog. You know that. You put your knees down. Do what feels really good. Take your time. Good. And then if you're doing something that's both sides, make sure you even yourself out. And we will meet back in down dog once you do. And from here, let's let ourselves separate our feet a little wider on our mat. Walk our hands back. And you can either come into elbows above your knees to squat. You can shift if you want in down with the hips towards the ground with your hands like behind, or you can bring yourself into your squat with your hands in front. So do what feels really the best for your back right now. Let yourself release your low back and your hips. Good. And then when you're ready to come on up, we're going to rise up with the hips, get our feet underneath us, hips distance apart and parallel. So as you get there, see if you can let your toes float up a little bit, feel them spread out a bit, releasing the toes back down to the ground. And then when you're ready, letting your hands come on up to your hips, press into your feet, and come on up to standing. And inhale your arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, as our hands come down, just very easily
allow your body to adjust into mountain pose, whatever that might mean for you. You need to sway around or move around a little, do, or shift, or, you know, anything that helps you go, here I am now, really just equally based through my feet and mountain pose, and enjoy feeling that sense of effortlessness of standing in your mountain. And then we'll go ahead and let our arms come on down, shake out, do whatever you need to do. We are going to bring our mats into a wall. So, how are we doing over there? No water coming up through, right?
No.
Okay. So, let's come in short into the mat to the wall. We're staying, so keep everything with you. Come in you all you want. Let's hope there's more rain coming tomorrow, and then it start to soak into the foundation and come up. That's what happens. Okay. You seeing something, Charlotte? So you are seeing some,
A
right?
spider, not
Oh,
a
that's
water.
fine. Oh, I was
A
gonna
water
say.
spider.
Yeah.
I see him right there.
Sorry.
Carry on.
Okay.
Oh
It's
gosh, it's a jumping spider, a jumping water spider. Run! Run, Sherman, run!
It's right there.
It's right here. It's a grass spider. You wanna come?
Do you want a tissue? Cause
Here.
sometimes if you do a tissue, you can softly. That's right there.
Softly,
Yeah.
not touch.
This is hilarious.
it right here.
Oh, here it is.
They have some spider in her hand.
It's a jumping.
Okay, this is hilarious. Okay, get a block. Well, we're gonna turn our left hand toward, no, let's do our right hand toward the wall, start on a different side. And get your
He'll be
block.
following you to your car, Sharp.
This is hilarious. Get your block. Your block. Thank you, ladies, for the spider saving.
Well, we'll see whose car it rides home in.
So your block is, I like lowest height, between the wall, you may not even want to use it, but we're gonna work a little eagle, bringing our left thigh over our right, letting our toes come on the block. Before you do anything though, keep your right hand on the wall before you think about bending your knee and going into eagle, okay? And just shift your hips a little bit towards the wall, and feels pretty good. Gets into the outside of that right leg, right? And then when you shift back up with your hips right over, right in line, you can still feel the outside of your leg, right? So, I mean, if you can stay here. Like if you're into the point where your knees and stuff don't like going into eagle, you don't have to. But you can, of course, shift your hips back, come like you're coming into the chair pose, so your torso comes forward, your hips go back. And if your foot's on the block, you might want to bring your hands to your heart, or even bring your right arm over your left and do your full wrap. And I know some of you would rather just go ahead and come into your full eagle, right? So if you can wrap your left toes around behind your leg, go for it. If you know that your knees are coming, to a place where they don't feel good, don't do that. You can keep your toes on the block, you can squeeze your thighs towards each other, feel that engagement there. And then we're gonna rise on back up, and we're gonna turn around, because it'll feel like the best thing to come to the other side, actually. So at first, when you put your toes on the block, and you have your left hand on the wall, let your hips shift. So you're actually kind of leaning your torso away from the wall, but your hips are shifting towards. There's a side stretch, but it also comes into the outside of the left leg. And then as you come back up, again, you may decide, you just want to stay upright. Or you might want to go ahead and shift your hips back and let your torso come forward, maybe bringing your left arm over your right and coming into your eagle wrap, maybe keeping your hands at your heart, maybe bringing your foot to wrap around behind your leg if you want.
So be mindful, take your time, don't do anything that feels like you're gonna be sorry for it tomorrow. Enjoy, the eyes are squeezing together. You know, even if you like to lift your toes up off the block and come into, without wrapping your foot around, if you lift your toes up, you're really getting into a lot in your hips. When you're ready, release. Come on down, turn to face the wall. Come on into your down dog with your hands at the wall. Spread the fingers wide if you can. Get your hands to where they're even on the wall. Look at them. Think about your pointer fingers being about parallel to each other. And then come on down to look at the floor. Reach back into that long spine. Press gently into your hands. Hug your elbows towards each other and lift your right foot up in the air into a little warrior three. Turn the toes down towards the ground. Try not to favor either arm or hand. So sometimes the tendency is to bend one elbow more and to kind of go cockeyed in your upper body. Nice, nobody's doing that. When you're ready, bring your foot down, switch legs when you're ready. And let yourself reach back into that inner heel. Think about your hips staying level and square. Imagine your pinky toe is facing towards the ground. Your pinky toe, see? So that's what keeps you from opening up into that hip more. Beautiful. And when you've had enough, let yourself come on down. Turn back to the wall here for a second. And then just for a second, let your forehead stay, not your forehead, the back of your head stay on the wall. Shift your hips just a little bit forward. Come into a bit of a back bender. Just easily, not too much. If you feel too far from the wall, get closer to the wall. Let it feel like a relief, right? So, and if you feel like you want to go farther, you can go farther. Some of you might even want to lift your hands up, let your arms come up overhead, but you just have to keep your belly engaged so you make sure you're not putting any kind of pressure into your low back. Yeah, this makes me think, I don't know about you all when we were younger, when we used to walk down the wall to do a back bend, right? No, I'm not even gonna think about it right now, but my granddaughter, who's 7, just learned to do a back bend from standing, and she's so proud of herself. So we're gonna come down onto the floor with our feet back towards the wall behind us and make our way into child's pose. So take your time, let yourself, actually bring your hands together overhead there. Go ahead and clasp your hands. Let yourself just release and feel a release in your shoulders, different than if you were bringing your arms back, of course, but just see how good it feels. Let your heart melt down a little bit. And breathe. Good, and then let's come forward onto our forearms, and whether you want to keep your hands now separate and have your forearms parallel in your dolphin, or go ahead and clasp your hands, send your pinky out, let yourself rise on up into your dolphin pose. Press down into your forearms. You've got your heels there at the wall. If you're not in the right place, if you want to be more over with your shoulders, more over your elbows, you can come back farther towards the wall. And then, of course, you can lift legs up if you choose to. This is all totally optional. You can play with bringing one leg up. You can walk both legs up. And if you feel like you want to head towards that angle where you're 90 degrees, walk your feet down the wall and get to where you have 90 degrees, just like we were at the wall, really, only on your forearms instead of your hands. That prepares your shoulders for forearm stand, obviously. So take your time. And if you'd rather turn around and play a little bit, do. If you'd rather go to be on your hands instead of your forearms, you're more than welcome to do that. So just play a little bit of coming down and resting. Sounds like the best idea. Then come down and rest. Up one more time, briefly let yourself go now, and if not, take your time, rest for another few seconds. Because we are gonna make our way around to sitting with our legs in front of us. So you might wanna get a blanket to sit on. You might not, that depends on you, for a classic seated forward bend, right? Which is legs in front of you, imagining maybe even using your hands to help you send your inner thighs kind of down so that you feel your knees and your toes naturally are facing up towards the ceiling. You're more than welcome to get a blanket or blocks to put under your knees if you're tight in your low back and your hamstring. You know, there's nothing to say that doing this forward bend like this with your knees bent, it's certainly a lot better than not finding any kind of movement, and it feels really good, even if you're not tight in your low back and your hamstring. So, you know, if you want to try coming into a forward bend and letting your knees bend a little bit, do with support, or obviously I know some of you just really love coming into forward bend because your body is built for it, right? Not everybody is, so if it feels good, do. Take your time. Just enjoy feeling that wet release you can find in the backs of your legs. Feel your heels on the ground a little bit, draw them back towards you. Good. And then we're going to come on, back up, bring our hands behind us. And you don't have to lift up. You can turn your hands out too if that's better for you. You don't have to lift up and do a reverse plank. You can just draw your chest forward and open up that way. Whichever way you want to turn your hands, you can try if you want to press up into a reverse plank. But take your time. You know, if you get up there and you're like, oh, that doesn't feel so good. Sometimes putting blocks under your hands helps. I actually love using blocks in reverse plank. But, you know, and you can bend your elbows and do little push-ups, tricep push-ups too, if you're up on the blocks. But don't do too many because you'll be really sore. It's like being on the edge of a stair at home. Do you ever do those? You can do it with your knees bent too, so that you do this and let yourself, you know, really come into your triceps. A lot of work. But be mindful of your wrists, right? Take care of your wrists when you're done. Whatever feels good to just turn them over, to wrap a hand around the other wrist, to open and close, whatever feels good. And then from here, we're going to come on into a little heron pose. So bring your left leg either forward like this or folding it under you. It depends on you which you want to do, whether it feels better to fold the left leg under or just have it straight. And then bring your right thigh in. You're going to lean back a little bit, so you need to be enough away from the wall where you can pull your thigh in towards your outer rib cage, right? And then you can let yourself decide. Do you want to even think of reaching up to get hold of the foot? And here is a heron pose. You don't have to straighten your leg out to be in heron. It's a lot of work going on to pull your spine into length here, because you're back a little bit on that little diagonal line, right? And if you are able to straighten your leg out and bring your gaze up over your foot, you can. So that you have that huge uplift in the body. Good. Now, we did a little bit when we were working on eagle lunge, trying to get into the IT band. Bring your left hand across somewhere to the outside of that right foot or leg and start to twist towards your leg with your right hand coming behind you. You can put it on the floor, you can reach it back. If you got the wall there, you can even put it on the wall, or you can put the hand on the floor. Press the right leg gently into your hand a little bit, and there, oh man, is the outside of your leg. Maybe, depends on you. You might feel it a lot, you might not. And then we're gonna release. Come on back to center, bring your foot down, go ahead, bow your head. You can even just release there, rounding your back a little bit. And then we'll come on up, and we're gonna switch. So coming on in, again, that right leg can be long. You can bring the thigh in, it comes towards the outer side of your ribs here, so it's not right in the center. It's
to the side, and that makes it a heck of a lot easier, right, to get up, to get to that foot. And then you can decide, you don't have to even do this part, you can do that, and if you wanna come straighter, but you can't get your foot, it just doesn't work, you can switch to hold kind of behind your leg somehow if you want to. So that you are able to try to lengthen up and feel really good about that length of your spine. And looking up towards the ceiling and imagining that you're just bringing that whole uplift to the front of your body. Nice, and you feel like a heron, kind of. And then we're gonna come into that little twist. So the right hand, the hand comes to the opposite, the leg that's out long, it's the opposite hand. And then you're gonna come around and bring that back hand around behind you. And you can press into your hand with your leg. And that, man oh man, is a really nice stretch for the outside of your leg. Beautiful. And one more breath. And then come on back. We're gonna bend the knee. We're gonna let ourselves again, if you feel like you wanna bow your head or round a little bit, do. And then we'll come on back, we're gonna bring our feet onto the floor, and we are gonna come right on down onto our backs on the floor. If you wanna roll down, that feels good to you, or you can just let yourself come down however you choose. Bring yourself on into soles of the feet towards each other, separate your knees into a little Baddha Konasana, and just enjoy. Send your sit bones and your tailbone down a little bit towards the ground so you have a bit of natural curve there on your low back. So your low back's not collapsed into the ground, although it's fine if it is, but you can just add a little bit for the inner thighs if you send the tailbone down. And then bring your feet onto the floor and widen them out on your mat so that they're towards the edges of your mat. And let your knees come from one side to another, and you can stay on one side as long as you want, right? You may decide you want to go, stay on one side, you know, you can always if you're going to the right, you can always pick your right foot up and rest it right above the outside of your left knee so that you come into a really deep hip flexor stretch that way. And you know, if those don't feel good to you, don't do them. Take your time, and if you just feel like doing something else, do it. I'm serious. If you feel like you really want to do a bridge pose, you can come on up into a bridge or a supported bridge pose. Maybe you feel just good to do a little pelvic tilting and maybe even rolling through your bridge pose. Oh my gosh, there's like about 100 things that need to feel good right now. So, I'm going to let you pick the one of them that you might feel good, so that you'll get what your body needs, right? My body might need something entirely different than what your body needs. Now take your time. I'm going to start to walk around and get lights, and you got time here though to let yourself, if you feel like coming into more than one pose or movement, do it. If you need a twist, do a twist. If you need anything at all, so go for it. Because being comfortable in Shavasana is the most important thing. Remember, I have bolsters, blankets. Kind of chilly in here today. If you want a blanket, let me know if you want one for cover or for your head. If you need a bolster for under your knees, or maybe even to lie back on. Just take your time and settle in. Start to watch your breath. You know, it's funny how all those little stages happen, right? You watch your breath, you get a little quieter, you start thinking, those little spaces, it gets easier and easier. The little spaces get longer without you realizing. And your mind just finds those quiet places, giving your body time to benefit from all you just did. So just give yourself the gift of being able to lie here on the ground, watch your breath, and let yourself completely and fully relax. feel yourself there on the floor, and your breath will naturally want to deepen and lengthen. Just let yourself feel the breath starting to bring energy back to you. Your fingers, your toes, they start to wiggle at first, and move your wrists, your ankles. But let yourself start to move the way that feels natural. You might feel good to let your head roll side to side. You might want to bring your knees in towards your chest and release your back. Take the time to be there on the floor a little longer. You know you're welcome to roll to either your right or your left side. If you're comfortable to do that, you can be in a soft fetal position on your side, maybe even using your arm as a pillow. Of course, when you feel okay to rise up, start to floating your way up. You can let yourself stay very relaxed and feel still soft and released to your body, even as you come to sitting, which obviously takes some use of your muscles again, but almost imagine that your spine takes over, right? Your spine, once you're seated, is what's holding you up. Your top of your head is lengthening upward, and your head's floating up there on top. Let yourself sit comfortably for your hips, and come back to watching your breath. And on your next exhale, bring your hands to meet there in front of your heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.